Escape to the metaverse. Better act like you know. Yeah. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzle show. Yeah. Escape to the metaverse. Better act like you know. Yeah. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzle show. Yeah. Escape to the metaverse. Better act like you know. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzle show. Yeah. Escape to the metaverse. Better act like you know. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzle show. Yeah.
Dude, I was just telling Dragonite how amazing Lisbon was, like top to bottom. Probably that and the non-NFT conference in Mexico City, top two favorite events ever. That and then like the first NFT announcement
Rizzle
you
Fest.
went to.
No, I'm just kidding.
Rizzle Fest is number 3, dude. Come on,
Yeah,
like
dude, I would love to hear about it, man. Because was sort of sitting on the sidelines for the whole thing, like watching all of my friends hang out together without me and feeling the FOMO. Would love to get into it.
so. First of all, shout out Skeeny. Like Mexico City, Skeeny is my dude. Like through the whole trip. Same thing with Lisbon. Like every day we link
Skeeny's so
up.
great, man. When I hosted that conference in Spain, Skeeny was my dude the whole trip there too, and showed my wife around and everything. It was shout out Skeeny.
Yeah, like, and he's finishing up like a country house or whatever that he's going to be using as like an artist residence. And like, you're an artist, I'm not an artist, but he's like, yo, just come over, like fun shit will happen. It's more like a collaboration house. So I'm like, fam, he's doing big things. But like I was saying in the last episode too, this like Sky Golpe was there, and dude, met him, his wife. We were just fucking chatting about everything. He whipped out his phone. He was showing me his whole archive of work, like going back to when he was a street artist in the UK, like over a decade ago.
Cool.
Matthias C was there, dude. Matthias C gives the best hugs.
Best hug. God damn it.
Violet Jones and Trevor Jones were there. They were a trip. Panther Cheetah, we hung out a bunch. That's really fun. Our dude Cody was there. I'm just gonna be like rattling off all the names. Like it was ridiculous. Like Mojada was there, Neurocolor was there, Ryan Koopmans, WG Meets, of course. Dude, WG Meets and I, like, we got into like a little like wrestling match, like walking home from the Non-Fungible dinner with Luke and crew.
So great.
It was all fun, but it was just hilarious. Like, he's a giant, I'm not. He was like, are you seriously trying to do this? And they just like blew me away. It's funny. Metageist was there, Paradox's sister as well. Shout out to both of them. Dude, Dat Ogar was there as well. Met him in the flesh. That was really fun.
That Ogar hit me up beforehand and asked me if I was going to be in Lisbon. I was like, "Damn it, dude, you're going to be there too?" Fuck,
dude. Yeah, like do you remember Bulag, aka Sven?
Of course.
OG crypto voxels landholder.
I saw it. Yep. I saw that he was there.
He was there, man. Like, he'd been away for a while. Gabe Weiss and his wife. We had a crazy night that led up to meeting again Luke and crew and his brother George and his wife and a bunch of other people for a smallish dinner. That was cool. Reinhard Schmid, Rucker Vandertas, Fanny Luckby, Eleonora Brizzi was there. Even Sandy, like Hackatow's manager. Pascal Boyart, like legends, dude.
Yeah.
I mentioned Luke a couple times. Like, he hosted me for a couple private dinners. He's the best, dude. Him and his whole
I really
fam.
didn't see, like, I knew Lisbon was cool last year, but there were also like a lot of cool things last year, but I really didn't anticipate like Lisbon quickly becoming like ground zero, or what seems to be of like, sort of the OG community conference events and everything. Damn, dude.
Yeah. I mean, I think for the European-based folks too, it's so close, or like relatively convenient for all of them to fly over. From the UK, it's like maybe a couple hours, from Spain. I think Skeeny was like 30-40 minute flight. And then from everyone else from Europe, I mean, there's some connection issues, folks coming in from like Italy and stuff like that, but like nothing too crazy. OMZ was there as well. Strawberry Sith, shout out him. Carlos Marcial. Dude, you remember when Strawberry Sith had that, he tested causality at the whip?
Yeah.
The physical meets NFT side of things.
Of course.
So Carlos was like his test case for like a real project. I think there's like 100 editions Carlos minted, and only one of those editions had been signed using that like physical bracelet concept that Sith was talking about. Ended up going to a party that Benoit and crew were throwing on the first day on Tuesday. Carlos was there, so of course we hug. Like after my TSC, Carlos gives like second best hugs, and he was telling me about the project. I didn't know. I forgot at the time the link between causality and like Carlos, which is like ironic. But Carlos is telling me about it. And I'm like, oh shit! Like how many people signed it? Like it was just himself signing his own work. I'm like, oh, fuck, dude, let's do this. So I went to OpenSea, scooped an edition real quick. They're still there on the cheap.
Oh, I actually scooped one of those.
And then it was such a simple process. I just scanned the QR code, and then it brought up something for Carlos, and then he scanned his bracelet, and then boom, my shit was signed. It was perfect. It was so simple.
That's cool.
Panchachita was recording the whole thing. Like I was like, it's working, and then we jumped up and down like schoolgirls, and like of course we gave one another a big hug. And every time he did that week, like he was just hugging people in the streets. It was wild. It was a good time. That coupled with the fact that it was so artist heavy and artist centric.
Yeah.
Last year the word of mouth was out of this world, and like to the credit of the organizers of the actual event, they took a lot of risks. Like they were doing things I've never seen at conferences. Like on top of just splitting out the stages, so there's like a lot of like many more intimate spaces for the quote unquote like panel to talk on. They made sure that like they gave out these like red and green Pepe paddles. Basically, it was like a yes or no, and they were really, really consistent and proactive, like engaging the audience. Like when the moderator or whatever had a question, he would pose it to the audience first. Like a yes or no format. Someone would disagree or go the contrarian way, and they would literally call that person up and all right, now you're in the panel.
Wow, that's cool, man. Wow.
Yeah. And it was way more engaging that way. They had a lot of like bells and whistles throughout there. It was really, really, really cool and well done. You got to go back next year.
Well,
like,
this
no
is
doubt.
like, yeah, man. I'm like, dude, who wasn't there besides me? Fuck.
Yeah. You Dragonate?
Yeah. Dude, this is like sort of an annoying conversation in like a FOMO way. I'm like, shit, dude. I was watching from the sidelines and, just saw so many people there that I wish I have met like only once before. But we've talked about this before, man, how it's so difficult to get like a large contingency of like the people you want to see in one place these days. But this seems like it, man. And I honestly, after hearing you just run down the lineup, have some regrets of not making the extra effort to get out there and everything. It just wasn't in the cards this year, man. But this also makes me feel like I should make sure it's in the cards for next year and plan farther ahead so I can make something like this happen. Dude, I feel like big picture, man, this is sort of like a evolving like transition. I don't know if transition is the right word, but like in the context of in real life events going on in the space, from when the space started from nothing to like, peak hype cycle to now, it seemed like everyone got sort of swept up in the vortex of like, the space getting bigger and bigger and these events getting bigger and bigger. And like, of course, everyone wants to sort of be where all the action is at and the big things are going on. But it also sort of feels like we're sort of, I don't know if the communities have like necessarily like fractioned off or whatever, but it definitely feels like there's a cognizant pursuit of these like more intimate gatherings and more like high quality events over like mass just events trying to gather as many people and bodies as humanly possible into one place. And you mentioned Lisbon, non-NFT Summit. There's other ones too. I referenced the one I did in Spain last year with Polygonal Minds. That was like sub 200, but like high quality and intimate event. And dude, I'm like taking notes on some of these audience engagement tools because I feel like it's cool to see it's cool to see like a big event platform take some risks and try something different, because it really felt like the old format, which isn't even really that old, but like the format that we've gotten so used to over the past couple of years has gotten stale like so quickly and unappealing that it's man, you know me, man. I just love seeing people push the boundaries a little bit, and this space is like, for that.
Yeah. And the main room screens where it was 360, like floor to ceiling, massive ceiling. And like the kickoff event was Cody and Carlos like rousing the crowd with their stories, which is fucking epic. And their art was humongous, like larger than life on the screens around everyone. And the messaging was fresh. They weren't fucking, it was not a GM wag me situation. Like they were coming up with like really heartfelt like ways of interpreting where the space is at, where we're going, and it's in particular like the artist's role in everything. And it was very fresh. And I don't want to make it seem like it was small or anything. It was actually way larger than anticipated. I think they were looking for something around like 3,500 or so folks based on like initial ticket sales and things like that, leading up to the event. But all in, numbers I heard in the second to last day were like around 5,500 to 6,000 folks. So it was well attended, and there were a lot of people. And the other thing, it was like a large spectrum of folks. Generationally, you had older folks, way younger folks. You have guys and gals. You have people from all over, man. It was so many people that like even for like NFT studios that like Leandro was there somewhere. I missed him. You know what I mean? Like it just didn't bump into him. There are other projects like that. It was just it was a huge chunk of people, and it was just
That almost makes it more impressive.
Oh, yeah. I got to give a shout out to Eclectic Method and Vector Meldrew and crew. The DJ sets that they put on in Arthur as well. Like it was so fun. It was just so fun.
Yeah, the size of the crowd, the large size of the crowd, almost makes it more impressive, man. Because I feel like a lot of the people who you mentioned, who I would be out there to see as well. First of all, the fact that you were able to find that many people in that large of a crowd means like, I don't know, either you strategized really well or like the circumstances like enabled that to happen. But also, man, I feel like a lot of that crowd is sort of jaded of the pop culture, like limelight type of events. And so for ETH Lisbon to attract that large of a crowd, but also like a high quality crowd is not something I feel like I've seen replicated very often in the past like year and a half or so.
Yeah, I mean, but that goes back to like to Rizzle Fest, what you did. Like everyone that came out there, super high quality, non-NFT conference down in Mexico City, super high quality, very curated, and the initial Lisbon crowds that were also like that, and the word of mouth of those initially smaller but super high quality events. It's a self-reinforcing cycle. They tell their friends who are also like generally like really good people, and it just you get a year later all the good people in one place. And everyone was stoked for like what would happen next, and you could see everyone's batteries get recharged in real time. And it's like the last night I was there, Flying Beagle, OMZ, and Basilius threw this amazing dinner party. And it was probably a group of around like 50 or so folks. And Skinny and I showed up. We were third and fourth. Matthias C and his curator were with them, and they looked like little children, super happy. And we're like, what the fuck is going on? Like it was hard to find the secret garden place that they were throwing the dinner. And Matthias, he's like, come here. There's white peacocks. And they're like these big ass white peacocks like roaming the ground. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? But shortly after that, the rest of the party filled up, and it was just we were all grabbing drinks and talking sidebars. It was the conversation just flowed so perfectly, all the way into like 2, 3 in the morning. And that was the best way to wrap things up. They had a beach party sponsored by the Sandbox the next day, but my flight was a little before that. And I don't particularly like sand. So it was a nice way to wrap everything up and head home before the weekend so I could rest up. Because it was draining. As fun as it was, I definitely needed like a day to recover proper.
So, dude, do a little like compare and contrast for me because I've been to NFT NYC many times at this point and am familiar with that whole programming, and I've been to like several other conferences as well, but that's probably like my best basis for comparison because I know you've been to several of those as well. And I guess one of my hesitations was I didn't want to go all the way out to Lisbon for it to essentially be like another variation of that, which it clearly isn't, man. But having been to both, I'd be interested to hear your take on what Lisbon, and you mentioned a couple things, but like, broad strokes, man, what did they get right that NFT NYC seems like they're dropping the ball on?
It was just a much more focused conference. Like the artists and the art, they were in the forefront. Like there were other discussions that were touching and other projects that were touching on other areas in NFTs, like the metaverse, and there's some gaming platforms and things like that were present. There's some social, like Lens Protocol was there. Fuck them though, because they still won't fucking let me on. But it was really, really art focused. And anytime you lean in and do something that highlights the artist, like you're just going to have like a much better time because they're fucking really cool people and they always are doing cool cutting edge shit. Like Cody and the Maker's Place. Shout out Airnaught over at Maker's Place. They had a cool booth. Cody was doing live art and everything like that. It was so cool for everyone to see. So the focus on the artist side of things, I think, was really smart. Like I mentioned before, it wasn't just a basic ass conference with a couple stages that people go to. Where the stages were in the buildings, like it was all very thoughtfully set up, with the exception of that big ass main stage with the gorgeous displays that were wrapped around. Everywhere else was really, really intimate. They maybe had like 4 or 5 seats for the panelists, and then the room was really tight. It was really tight.
Was it all like sort of centrally located? Like these rooms were close to each other, or was it, I feel like that's one of the
like
things.
The conference center was held in this like old ass palace on the top of a hill, like in downtown Lisbon. So it was like a gorgeous venue.
So there are like intimate settings within like a large event.
Yeah, like imagine like a big cathedral, right? And you know how in the cathedral, like there's the main hall, like where like the priest and whatever does his business on the stage, but then there's like all these back rooms that are not small because cathedrals are not small. It was set up like that, and those like back rooms were turned into like mini stages, mini galleries, and things like that. Sky Gope, the stage he gave a speech on was called the Playground or something. It was set up literally like a fucking boxing ring. Like there were ropes outside of the stage, and like to get in there, and like even everyone from the audience that was going in and out, like they would enter through the ropes. Like they would raise the top rope, lower the bottom rope. It was really fun. It was just like something new and fresh. Like the little details you could tell were very thought through. That was really amazing. And on top of that, it's still newish that there aren't as many competing events. I know the Mocha crew were putting on a side event for an afternoon, I believe, but there wasn't really anything outside of just breaking off with your mates and friends to go like grab a bite to eat. Or chat outside. There wasn't anything competing your attention away. Like at NFT NYC, there's like a million side events at this point because no one goes to the main conference. The conference has been like dead for a while. It's just that conference is the excuse for everyone to go to the same city together versus here where the conference is the main point. And then everything that happens and breaks out off of that, like interpersonally, that's all icing on the cake and cherries on top and stuff like that. And then Lisbon itself is so cheap, dude. It's so cheap and so easy to get around. Like to and from the airport, Uber is like 7, 8 euros. Anything in the city, very cheap. The food, I was telling Dragonate, like we ordered for a large party. Like I got the bill and I'm like, is this just for me? And they're like, no, it's a whole party. I'm like, what is going on? Like it's wild how cheap it is, especially compared to America. And so high quality. Like the fish, the seafood there is it's epic. Ate a ton of sardines and cod while I was there, some cilantro soup and everything. That was really amazing. And because of that, like the other side events, like the private parties and dinners and things like that, so easy to get to. As a result, unlike in New York, where it's like an epic fight to go from one part of the city to another, and then God forbid you have to like cross over to Brooklyn and back, and it's just a nightmare with the traffic and the cost and stuff like that. I think that all played into helping make it really a comfortable experience on top of being like novel and innovative and engaging and fun. Yeah. And then for the European folks, like I said before, so convenient. No wonder they're coming over there, and no wonder they're more reluctant to go over stateside, make that long trip for the rat race that is like NFT NYC.
All right. Well, listen, man. Before you book your next trip or whatever, keep me in the loop and make sure I'm like. I think I know why their event does well, man. Because you're a great evangelist for it. I'm like, all right, fine, fuck it, I'm in. Dude, I feel like a lot of it is exactly what you said in terms of like, keeping some of these like higher number events like still high quality. And I had like a pretty good experience in ETH Denver, and one of the reasons why was because of a similar circumstance where like all the main shit was happening in a central location, and there were some side things going on, but not like a ton of them. And you had the general sense that if you wanted to run into people who were going to be at ETH Denver, you could pretty much reliably show up at the thing and circle the wagons and find people and move from there. And that's where I feel like NFT NYC and Bitcoin Miami is like become the same thing, where it's like extremely spread out, and then you just lose everybody sort of going on their own paths to their own side events at that point. And so but this sounds like I mean, ETH Denver was cool, man, but it's more of like a dev focused conference, which was a great experience for me. But like my passion is more on the art side of this like NFT crypto thing. And so, what you're describing speaks to me personally as more of like the type of experience that I'm looking for. But I feel like that's the way, man. Otherwise, like everything gets lost in the shuffle, but being able to show up to one place and know like there's a whole bunch of people here somewhere. I just got to find them, but I'm not going to have to like travel to the other side of the city or hop in an Uber to, potentially show up to something that's dead anyway. And, all this shit that goes along with it. So that's cool, man. I would love to see more stuff like that going on, but it also feels like some of these like big conferences now are on like a completely different trajectory. That's like the type of thing that they're going for. They're just trying to like make as big of a social media splash as humanly possible, which is what it is. There's always going to be that, but it's cool to see like sort of I guess the dust settle a little bit around like what's going to stick in real life events for me personally, and like the community within the space that I'm most passionate about. And I feel like it's starting to get much clearer now, rather than like, a year, 2 years ago, you look at the calendar and you're like, oh shit, there's like 20 things going on. Everybody's going to be at something slightly different. Like, how do I even decide? I feel like that's getting a little bit easier now.
Yeah. Excited for the lessons that other conferences hopefully learn from this. Number one, just because it'll make everyone's experiences better. But it's not just like it's the NFC Summit doing its own thing. Like folks like you, the Barcelona, I think it's Barcelona, the Polygonal Minds. Event that
in Valencia. Yes, same country.
Honestly, even VCon too.
Yes, I was going to bring that up as well.
Yeah, I've heard really good things about the past two VCons, actually. Like there was that initial bout of FUD I guess in the first one, like some stages were probably bigger than they should have been, so it looked sort of empty when it wasn't like someone uber famous up there or whatever. But everyone's experiences, especially this time in Indianapolis, I think it was great. I was talking to Gabe Weiss about it. He was super excited about it. It had similar vibes, and it's pretty cool how they're choosing like low key cities, or like rest belt cities or whatever. I think that helps not being in like a major, like the biggest city in the world or something like that. At least in the American context, because it's like the biggest cities are really hard to get around.
Yeah. I was gonna say the same thing at VCon. I was at VCon last year because I was speaking on a panel, and that was and VCon isn't necessarily my bag personally. Just if I'm curating, in real life events that I'm gonna go to, it's cool, but it just is a cross section that isn't necessarily specific to what I'm going to in real life events for. However, man, that is one thing that they did really, really well last year, and I think I got the impression they did the same thing this year. Was everything was extremely localized. So there's like a whole bunch of people there. All these people at VCon are at VCon, and there's not a whole lot to do at VCon other than go to the main spot. And at the main spot, there's like a decent amount of stuff going on constantly. So it was great in that regards to not have to wake up in the morning and be like, okay, let me check my calendar. Let me see where everyone's going to be at. Let me see if like schedules change and everything. It was more just like, all right, let me, get some food and mosey on down to the stadium, and I'll figure out what's going on from there. And it's so much less taxing and stressful to be able to maneuver like that,
Dude, the way that you described it, that was the feeling of Lisbon. I think there's probably a lot of for me not having been to VCon and like you not having been to Lisbon. Like I think we really need to compare notes. But like talking to like Gabe Weiss, he made it seem like it was a very similar feel in that aspect, like how it was structured, like general proximity, like the conference is like the sort of event where everyone links up with everyone and like ends up looking at or listening to talks, walking around the venue, and then breaking out together to do their own things, like in a smaller group format. Like that's the way. I think that's if all the conferences try to optimize around those guiding principles, like super basic framework, they're going to create experiences that people generally have a very good time at. And the more they can do to be super thoughtful with all the in-betweens, like that all goes to serve to making a really inspiring in real life experience.
Yeah, it's cool, man. It's cool to see like some of these events like lean into the audience that's most passionate about the stuff that they're there for in the first place. I don't know if I quite said that right, but like some of them, the ones we've talked about, NFT NYC and stuff, it seemed like they've mostly become like advertising platforms, which again is like always going to be a thing. But that seems like you're a venture capitalist. You just dumped a lot of money into a project. You got to like put it in front of as many eyeballs as possible and get your shit on Times Square and all this stuff. Like that's that now. And there's like other variations of that now. But I feel like we were missing this for a while. Like events, Art Basel was. I haven't paid too much attention to what's going on with that over the past year or so, but that was like one of the first like real art centric events that I remember, like leaning heavily into NFTs early, and sort of like was a cool event that at least one of the first or second like early ones that leaned into NFTs. I was like, ooh, they like tapped into that community that, I was really hoping someone would. And it's great to see more of that, man. I don't want to end up now with like another 20 like really cool events to have to choose from because everyone figured out how to like lean into the passionate people. But it's nice to have real life gathering points where you don't have to come up with your own purpose for being there rather than like actually being able to show up for some like really dope content, which is, I think always was the hope. NFT NYC was never really great for that. I mean, you and I were there like very, very early on, and it, even in its like first iterations, it wasn't like the best place to go and like watch a presentation on like really interesting stuff. You were still going for like the side conversations and the people and everything. So I don't know, man, just a ramble that it's refreshing to be able to show up to places or being able to count on being able to show up to places and actually like take in content that is interesting and that you can learn something from for once, and has interesting people speaking and everything. I don't know, it's good shit, man.
Yeah. And it's just like, I think I mentioned earlier too, but it was just reconfirmation that like folks really did need a break from Twitter and like the digital side of things in particular for a little bit.
Yeah.
I hope more people that like weren't able to attend it are able to get on their summer vacations and all that good stuff, because they just need to recharge and meet up with good folks and get that good inspo to come back. It was interesting, like one of the with Johan and then Jonathan before he got fucking decimated by food poisoning. Like we were chatting and Johan was asking everyone about like, well, what do you think is next? That question came up a lot. And one of the responses that sort of surprised me, but like in retrospect is probably not super surprising, is a lot of the artists are focusing and working on VRM builds and projects.
Yeah.
I don't know if I should say this one of the godfathers of crypto art who like is very recognizable and like we're friends. Like he's a longtime friend of the Whip. I don't know if his project is public, so I won't say it now. I'll tell you after we're done recording. But Skeeny is working on something. A number of artists are, and like on top of what Vipe is doing now with their VRMs, like kicking that off again after what they've done for years with crypto avatars, everything that like Monoverse has been doing on the VRM development front. We're going in an interesting direction there. So I'm curious to see like where that path leads folks and how that ends up playing into things. But that was a really interesting like new area that a lot of folks seem to be working on, but still early enough that it's like no one knows what the fuck's going to happen in even a couple months on that front. But I thought that was pretty interesting.
Dude, that's actually like a great transition point, because you're talking about taking breaks and everything. The Whip will be on a break for a few weeks, 2 or 3 weeks after this week, but we're gonna go out with a bang this week before summer break with Vipe.
Oh, we got a Whip next week. Avogacci crew too.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, 2 whips before summer break. So we're definitely going out with a bang between Vipe and Avogacci. Both coincidentally working on VRM situations. Dude, I feel like I've been giving this a lot of thought recently, man. The Whip is in like a very cool position with all of the interest being focused on VRMs, because I also am able to see what's in the pipeline and Monoverse and everything. Yeah. And there's a lot of like really dope artists that you and I are familiar with who have VRM projects in the works, both within Monoverse and outside of Monoverse, working around and everything. And the Whip is pretty cool, man. I had a lot of conversations recently with cool VRM projects and creators about how, the Whip is very desirable for people who are making VRMs, because we give those creators a platform to show them off like across many worlds, across many weeks, so being able to show off their stuff in like HyperFi and then Monoverse and then on Cyber, and you know what I mean? Having like a true like metaverse agnostic platform where people can use these, metaverse agnostic assets is like a really interesting development that I feel like is maybe, sort of trending towards one another between our angle with being able to host events like that, and now people actually making projects that, sort of want that type of use case and exposure and everything. So I'm like, damn, dude, were we that far out in front with this shit? I don't know. We'll see.
we really were, dude. It's been years in the making for people to like sort of catch up to where we are. But I'm here for it. Like, and we set ourselves up to be as like lightweight and nimble as possible.
This might be our time, man.
Huh?
This might be our time.
I mean, what you were sharing with me in the DMs with projects that are coming in and like looking to try to help us out because they have things that are like that dovetail with the virtual worlds and yeah, like the promotion from the whip, like very excited for that. But also just like because it's still fucking fun, man.
Yeah.
Like we're yeah, let's tease something that we're probably going to do in July, but like bring your kid to the whip day.
Yeah.
Something for years here and there, like members of the whip fam would bring their kids to hang out and like fly in and like see what's going on, right? And why not make a proper event out of it? Introduce what a lot of these kids maybe now are working on in terms of like new projects. Like I heard, I don't know if it was you or Johan talking about some crazy shit that coin artist's son is working on. But like your son's like kicking the tires for years, and who knows like what projects he's been working on. Would love to shine a spotlight on that and see how the youth of the metaverse are thinking about this whole space, because they're really the future. And to have like a platform where we can like run these kind of experiments and have these cool experiences and like be ready for like the next on the bleeding edge. That's wild. It's just honestly super thankful.
Dude, I feel like we should like really, let's see how the first one goes, but I think it will be really fun. And I think, it's worth considering making it like, I don't know, maybe like a quarterly thing or a biannual thing or like whatever, because a lot of people in the space who have been here for a long time have kids, right? Who have like, grown up watching them tinker around with this stuff. And it's cool, man. As soon as I think it was Johan's idea when we were in the whip meeting the other day to do something like this, and I was just like, yes, dude, like it's time to bring the fam into the fam, right? And like, we're the ones to like, show the next generation how to, use this shit and like, stay true to the types of stuff that we were brought up on within the space and everything. So I don't know, man. I love it. And 100% with you, dude. Like, I feel like the whip wouldn't be what it was or in a cool position to be on the, receiving end of all this cool tech that's coming out if we weren't keeping it fun and lightweight and willing to iterate and pivot and tinker around. And I feel like we, that cred has been slowly piling up for a long time, and it feels good.
It feels good. Boom.
Boom.
Yeah, that feels like a perfect place to wrap up on, dude.
Yeah.
Tease the whip. It's gonna be a banger this week. Really excited for the Vibe crew. Has been cooking up. And if you haven't like scooped a new avatar from their project, go over there. I don't know how many are left, but it's like 0.005 ETH. It's a no-brainer. Scooped one. Yeah. Excited, dude.
Yeah, we're getting alpha on their roadmap too before the public release at the whip. So, Vipe is fam. They're gonna share some cool stuff with us, and yeah, should be awesome.
Boom. There we go. All right, let me save this, and I'll see you on Thursday in the metaverse then. 1 second. Dragon 8 insert 20 elevator music.
Dude, did you see my latest DM to you? Dragon 8 and Dragon 8's mom can hear this, but not for public consumption.
Oh shit. Fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Dragon 8, if you have any cool ideas, and also Dragon 8's mom, any cool ideas, there we go.
I don't know if Dragon 8 has any idea what we're talking about.
I know. Dragon 8 knows all the things, dude.
Does he? Did you tell him?
Of course.
Yeah, good. Dragon 8 says no.
Dude.
Not for public.
Awesome, man.